Welcome to NACTV Reads the News. My name is Cathy McGrath, and I'm one of many volunteers that help create programming for our station. NACTV can be seen on MTS Channel 30 or 1030, Westman Cable Channel 17, Bell Satellite Channel 592, or online at nactv.tv. These programs are made possible by our volunteers, staff, advertisers, as well as donations made by you, the viewers. If you are enjoying your NACTV experience, please consider supporting us by either donation or volunteering. You can contact our office at 204-476-2639 or at nactv@wcgwave.ca. And today's issue of the Neepawa Banner and Press is for Friday, February 21st, 2025. And right on the front, it's amazing to see what this event has grown into. Curling for a Cure sweeps past 100,000 by Casper Warehan. And pictured is the organizational crew and associated youth pose for a photo with a large check at the conclusion of the 2025 event. A grand total of just over 40,000 was raised this year. The 6th annual Curling for a Cure has been declared a huge success. According to event organizer Chad Yanchicki, the Minnedosa-based Bonspiel fundraiser swept in a grand total of $40,060. These funds will be split 50-50, $20,030 each, in support of Candlelighters Childhood Cancer and the Neepawa Community Cancer Program. To raise $40,000 was amazing. Our organizing crew was speechless. It's a testament to the amazing support we have from sponsors, the curlers, and the spectators who came out to watch and donate to the event, said Yanchicki. None of this happens without each and every one of those people. The funds raised this year also saw Curling for a Cure smash past the $100,000, making for an overall total of $134,611 raised over the past 6 years. This landmark is one that Yanchicki noted came 4 years earlier than anticipated. We had a goal to hit 100,000 in 10 years, so to be at 134,611 in only 6 years is truly amazing, Yanchicki continued. It's amazing to see what this event has grown into, especially when you factor in that year one we raised around 3,500. And pictured the winning team of the 2025 Curling for a Cure Bonspiel, Team Dream Ride, pictured Grant Babcock, Gary Forgue, Michelle Babcock, and Marcia Forgue, and also pictured members of one of the many curling teams playing during the busy weekend beautifully sweep as a curling rock glides towards the house. With the tremendous support this initiative has been receiving following its inaugural event and waiting lists being made, it seems that team registrations sell out quicker and quicker. On Monday, February 17th, Curling for a Cure opened registrations for the 7th annual event to be held in 2026. Within 10 minutes of registration being opened, all 24 team slots were sold out. In response to this lightning speed sellout, Yanchicki noted that there will be adjustments made to accommodate some additional teams. We have now decided to expand next year's event from 24 to 32 teams. We will open up those next 8 spots for registration within the next week. We expect those to sell out very fast, as we have a lot of teams wanting in, said Yanchicki. He added, to sell out a year in advance is amazing and something I would never have dreamed could happen. But it's a testament to how much fun the event is, the atmosphere, and of course the amazing cause of the event. It's a very fun environment all weekend long with the most generous people. Truly, if you haven't been to it before, you've got to come and check it out. The organizing team will now be taking a few well-deserved weeks off. After that break, the team will begin planning and preparations for 2026. The winning team of the 2025 Curling for a Cure Fun Spiel is Team Dream Ride of Neepawa. Congratulations to Grant Babcock, skip, Gary Forgue, third, Michelle Babcock, second, and Marcia Forgue, lead. A good effort was put in by all who participated. The Neepawa Banner and Press wishes all the best of luck for 2026. And dollars are important, but emergency treatment ranks higher, by Ken Waddell. A recent report and article from the Manitoba Association of Healthcare Providers says 28% of paramedic positions in Manitoba are vacant, and call volumes have increased by 64%. Shared Health operates the ambulance system, so I asked Shared Health, do you know how many positions are vacant in Prairie Mountain and how many ambulance trips per year are made out of Neepawa Hospital for CT scans? The answer to the question is attributed to a Shared Health spokesperson, and they answered for the ambulance trips for CT scans questions by saying, in the current fiscal year, the average number of times an ambulance trip was made from the hospital in Neepawa to a CT scan appointment each month is 7.6 per month. However, they were evasive on the number of vacancies in Prairie Mountain Health, so we have to depend on the 28% vacancy rate across Manitoba, as stated by the MAHCP. That 7.6 trips per month for CT scans figure would extrapolate to 91 trips per year. At a half day per trip, that come to 45 days of paramedic time, times 2 as ambulance have a staff of 2 people. It also comes to 9,100 miles of ambulance travel. In planning sessions for a new hospital at Neepawa, requests have been made for a CT scan. While it's been reported that there is room in the building for a CT scan, the reasons given for not having a CT scan at Neepawa is cost and a shortage of trained CT technicians. If a CT scan was installed at Neepawa, it would save 90 ambulance trips and 9,100 miles of travel. If we assume that there are 3 private travel CT scans that could be done at Neepawa for every 1 ambulance transported case, that means that there may be a total 450 scans that come out of the Neepawa area per year and 45,000 miles of travel. For a government that seems intent on keeping cars off the road and sparing carbon emissions, one would think that 45,000 avoided miles would be a nice goal. In addition, there are several trips a year by way of the local handy van to get CT scans. The biggest thing any doctor will point out is that sending a patient, especially stroke patients, to Brandon from Neepawa Hospital catchment area to only find out that they actually need to go to Winnipeg for emergency treatment, then the Neepawa to Brandon and then to Winnipeg trip wastes a couple of hours of precious treatment time. Like many of the 90 ambulance trips from Neepawa to Brandon are emergency trips, so you do the assessment. Is saving lives really important to Shared Health? Or is stubbornly sticking to a no CT scan decision more important? Shared Health added some extra information about future plans by saying Manitobans should never hesitate to call 911 or their local emergency phone number when experiencing a medical emergency. Emergency Medical Services, EMS, throughout the province deploy resources based on the probability of call activity, and if any particular ambulance is out on a call, whether it is transporting a patient to an appointment or responding to another emergency, resources are adjusted and other ambulances shift their locations to ensure responses are as timely as possible. We do recognize that staffing challenges exist in rural communities. As these challenges developed over a long period of time, they will similarly take time to reverse. The Manitoba government has made a renewed commitment to address staffing shortages in healthcare, which includes a $16 million investment to staff an additional ambulance station in Brandon and add 16 additional training seats at Red River College Polytech for advanced care paramedics to work in rural and northern Manitoba. Other work to expand job opportunities for paramedics, make jobs more attractive, and improve patient care include providing refresher training for advanced care paramedics, hiring clinical service leaders in various communities, including those in the Prairie Mountain Health region, developing community paramedicine units across the province, which support patients with chronic health and social issues, and expanding the Virtual Emergency Care and Transfer Resource Service, VECTRS, which helps in determining the most appropriate location for a patient to receive care in urgent, emergent, and critical situations based on their clinical needs. Vectors now triages all emergent and urgent patient interfacility transfers in the province. Shared Health is committed to the successful negotiation of a new and fair collective agreement for our province's professional, technical, paramedical sector employees. We will continue to work with the Manitoba government and the Healthcare Retention and Recruitment Office to grow paramedic staffing throughout the province. And Right in the Center by Ken Waddell. Thinking before acting might have been better. I have been watching various news releases about zebra mussels in Clear Lake for a couple of years now. Initially, government officials vowed to fight off the mussels by insisting that boats be scrubbed between uses. I laughed inside a bit about that. For the last 40 years or so, few, if any, jurisdictions have been able to control these nasty little pipe-clogging, boat-encrusting, sharp-shelled critters. First, the government restricted boats, even boats that never left Clear Lake. They restricted rental paddle boats, for heaven's sakes, and they don't leave Clear Lake either. Then they put up a dam around the infestation, but they forgot to get permission from the wind and waves, and the plastic dam was destroyed in a matter of days. The whole affair would be quite laughable, actually, if it weren't so serious and sad. The government wasn't going to be able to contain the mussels. They spent a lot of money trying, and they placed a whole batch of restrictions, causing havoc with the tourism business at Clear Lake. I think the government and Parks Canada were pretty dumb on this issue. Then, just last week, it was reported in the Winnipeg Free Press that, in a late January news release, Parks Canada announced it would reopen the lake to boaters in 2025, albeit under a one-boat, one-lake program, after finding hundreds of young zebra mussels on the eastern side of the lake, a couple of kilometers east of the main marina where staff first found evidence of the invasive species. Data gathered in 2024 demonstrated that zebra mussels are much more spread out in the lake than initially thought, Parks Canada said in an email. As much as eradication attempt would not be feasible. I think anyone with an ounce of intelligence had that more widespread statement figured out long before the Parks Canada people did. At a press conference on August 12, 1986, U.S. President Ronald Reagan said, "The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, 'I'm from the government and I'm here to help.'" That statement still rings true, unfortunately. This whole zebra mussels debacle at Clear Lake didn't stop the mussels, and most of us knew they wouldn't stop them. The government spent a whole lot of money for nothing and cost Clear Lake people a fortune and lost business. It's still a matter of discussion, but it is reported that zebra mussels may actually clean up lakes, but perhaps Clear Lake doesn't need cleaning. Just the same, an internet search shows that mussels are filter feeders, which means they feed by clearing nutrients from the water passing through them. The rate of reproduction and spread of zebra mussels makes them efficient cleaners of Great Lakes water, but whether that's a positive or negative thing depends on who you're asking. There is no doubt that zebra mussels are persistent in reproducing. They clog water intake pipes and encrust just about everything they come in contact with. They can be controlled by using potassium in the water, but that topic would need some more research. That would be a great idea in the same way that it would have been better if Parks Canada researched how ineffective their efforts of the past 2 years have been. And Home Buddies by Rita Friesen. Still learning. By the time you are reading this, I will have celebrated my 79th birthday. Really quite an achievement. I am now older than my mother was when she died. I have outlived friends and classmates. With a quick research online, I see that in many countries, the life expectancy of a woman is in the mid-80s, and there are too many countries where that number is under 60. There are so many determining factors: culture, heredity, affluence and location, for example. What I do know is that I am so blessed to live in Canada. I'm able to eat well, live safely, and enjoy recreation and entertainment. But that's not the learning I'm referring to. The learning to which I'm referring, for the editors out there, I admitted out loud that I do not like washing my face. I do regularly, but I don't like it. As I shared this with family members, they were not at all surprised. You don't like water? I do drink it. I do enjoy a shower. I do not enjoy swimming pools, lakes, water skiing, and anything else that requires me to be in the water. I have done my share of all of the above to be a brave parent and grandparent. I could not, would not show the children how afraid I was to be in a boat or on the water skis. It took a very long time for me to trust a life jacket. There may be a story of early childhood trauma. When speaking to another family member of another generation, my admission about not liking to wash my face elicited the same reply. You don't like water? Ha! My family know me and they love me. I am learning that it's okay to accept one's limitations. Reading had always been important to me. After the surgery on a brain aneurysm way back in 2002, I needed to relearn to read. I went back to easy reading, old familiar books from my childhood, and was able to recover enough to keep up with my studies. The reading was assigned well in advance, and I realized that reading 20 pages at one time allowed me to retain more information and upside. And I need to read books with large print while awaiting cataract surgery. The great thing is that our library has an incredible selection of large print books, knowledgeable staff that directs me to the type of reading I enjoy, and can order in books I need to read in large print. I am certain that as I age, I will find that I will continue to read, to learn, to adapt. I'm learning to adapt. I have embraced the chair yoga for seniors for flexibility. I have a set of exercises to strengthen the sciatica and expanded them to maintain flexibility in my ankles. They work. I did a graceful 4-point landing on the icy street. Not quite a tuck and roll, but when the force of momentum ceased, my face was inches from the ice. No bruises, no sore spots, a little humiliation. What will my next lesson be? And Faithfully Yours by Neil Stroshine. Whoops, don't fear the road ahead. Since January 2000, I have spent many hours on the road, driving from my home to appointments, speaking engagements, or family responsibilities. While they were still in operation, I also spent many hours aboard Greyhound buses, traveling to various locations in BC and Alberta. Whenever possible, I sat right at the front of the bus. This gave me an unobstructed view of the road ahead. It also led to some interesting conversations with the bus drivers, from whom I obtained many helpful driving tips. For their safety and the safety of their passengers, Greyhound drivers were each assigned a specific portion of a specific route. For example, on a trip from Edmonton to Prince George, BC, one driver took us as far as Jasper. A second driver took us the rest of the way. Most of my trips happened overnight, forcing drivers to be doubly vigilant to ensure that they got their buses, passengers, and cargo safely to their destination. Highway 16 from Jasper to Prince George is not for the faint of heart. The road from Jasper to Valmont, BC is a major truck route. Traffic can be quite heavy at times. From Valmont to Prince George, the road narrows. It winds around mountains, passes through river valleys, and over high hills. Nothing compares with the beauty one sees when traveling that route during the day. At night, it's a different story. Professionals who drive this route know the location of every steep hill, every sharp curve, every side road leading to a logging site, and every danger spot. They know where deer and other animals like to hide out, and how addicted they are to the salt that the Highways Department uses to keep the roads ice-free. To navigate this route safely, drivers must stay alert and always keep their eyes on the road ahead, because one never knows what danger may be lurking around the next bend in the road. In one of my recent times I reserved for thought, prayer, and personal reflection, I thought of how much my life has been like that road from Jasper to Prince George. There have been many happy times, many incredibly beautiful experiences, the memories of which I will treasure until I die. There have been times when everything in life was going well and I felt I was on top of the world and could achieve any goal I set. There have also been deep valleys, times of grief, pain, uncertainty, worry, and fear. Every day has been like that winding road. I never know what might be around the next bend. I often fell asleep while riding the bus on the second leg of that trip. I knew that I had no reason to be afraid. My driver knew the road ahead, and I could rest in peace, knowing that with a skilled driver at the wheel, I would make it safely to my destination. What was true for me then is true for all of us today. We don't need to fear the road ahead. We have an unseen guide who will safely lead us through the rough times we might face today. With Jesus Christ, a traveling companion, we have nothing to fear. We can join King David in saying, I will both lie down and sleep in peace. For you alone, O Lord, make me lie down in safety. Psalm 4:8. Don't fear the road ahead. For face each day with dignity, courage, and faith in God. He will be your guide and companion from here to eternity. And Faith and Family by Tara Kaunhofen. Cost of convenience. My great-grandmother was 100 when she graduated to heaven in 2015. I can remember visiting her and the smell of her green-coated peppermints on the coffee table that had been left open, knowing we were coming. Homemade pickles and bread, the Chinese checkers board set out with care, ready to whoop our butts with her many years of practice. All fond memories. But as I ponder back on these memories, I think of the story she told of years gone by, a lifetime ago, another world it would seem from the one I knew and was growing up in. My mind would be flooded with images of horse-drawn carriages, one-room schoolhouses, railways being built, horses hauling steam engines across the raw and wild prairies. Pushing, pulling, progress forward into the future, whether it was kicking and screaming, or with joy. Progress was inevitable. But what I have realized now as an adult, looking back, is that for all the progress made, we lost so much in the process. In 2 generations of growth, there was a whole way of life that was lost. Growing food and working hard with your hands to provide, hunting and gathering, fellowshipping as a family, trading posts and community. These things have thankfully started to slowly make a comeback in some circles, and for some, like myself, I was blessed enough to have parents who taught me these values and this way of life, and how carrying on these skills was actually a way to honor those that came before me. Making sure the legacy of those who bled and died for this country, who poured their blood, sweat, and tears out on the soil to tame this wild and raw land, and work alongside it to make it a home, is kept intact. My deep, fervent prayer is that more people come to an equilibrium when it comes to progress and honoring our ancestors and history, that we start to explore with deep curiosity the way of life that was the stepping stones to getting us where we are today, and in our own way adopt some of these ways back into our lives. Bring back deep friendships and fellowship. Bring back trading skills to bless others. Bring back teaching a friend a skill they don't have. Bring back community suppers and gratefulness. Bring back remembering and honoring the legacy of how progress became. And we have letters. This one is from Hildegard Vickers. Any Middle East plan must include a hope and a future. In response to Ken Waddell's column, In Search of Truth, I believe a more thorough look at World War I and II history is needed. The heavy costs of war reparations after Germany lost World War I led to extreme inflation and allowed Hitler to rise to power by promising and delivering employment and a more livable income for the working class. After World War II, the Marshall Plan, spearheaded by the United States, actually helped Germany rebuild and restore its economy, avoiding further fascist takeovers for 80 years and up until the present time. Unfortunately, we now see the rise of the AfD, many coming from what used to be East Germany, where the economy has lagged behind the rest of the country. I have little hope that a Trump takeover of Gaza will in any way promote peace in the Middle East. His plan does not include a hope and a future for the people of Gaza. And we have thumbs up and thumbs down. Thumbs up to the town of Neepawa for keeping the roads and paths at the Riverside Cemetery clear and ice-free. making it the safest place to walk in town. I was visiting family and was surprised by how well maintained the cemetery is. From James Lee in Winnipeg. And another thumbs up. Anything for a neighbor. No truer words were spoken than those by the Spring Hill Colony. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the colony for allowing the use of their wheelchair van so that I wouldn't miss my appointment in Winnipeg when all other options fell through. From Ron Libatili of Neepawa. And thumbs way on up to the men who moved the snow in Franklin. From Harvey Flager of Franklin. And Out of Helen's Kitchen by Helen Drysdale. Prairie blizzards and trains. In years past, winters had more annual snowfall than they have today. As a child on the farm, I remember how lots of snow days, as the snowplows could not clear the roads because the snow was too high. Eventually, the municipal caterpillar came and cleared the road. In our yard, the packed snowbanks were wonderful for making forts and tunnels. Since the prairies have been settled, there were times when roads were closed for days on end before the snow could be cleared. There were drifts literally deep enough that they would bury a train on the tracks. Canada's railways were important to open Canada from sea to sea. The biggest challenge to maintain the rail lines was the harsh Canadian winter. Snow and ice have a big effect on the movement of trains. In the early years, thousands of men were hired each winter to clear snow from the tracks with shovels. In the mid-1800s, rail plows made of steel were fitted to the front of locomotives like cow catchers so they could remove snowdrifts as they made their way up and down the line. How well they worked would depend on the train's speed and weight and the type of snow. Powdery snow would basically blow away. The large, hard-packed snowdrifts could stop a train, and they would have to back up and hit the drifts again. On occasion, the snow derailed the trains, and sometimes the trains got caught in the drifts and had to wait to be rescued. So what to do with all that snow on the tracks? In 1869, Canadian dentist J.W. Elliott invented the rotary snowplow. A few years later, the Leslie brothers improved on the design and began production of them. Powered by a locomotive-sized boiler, the rotary snowplow had several rotating steel blades, like a propeller. The snow was ejected by centrifugal force through an opening at the top, clearing the tracks. From the Canadian Encyclopedia, the worst blizzard in Canadian railway history occurred between January 30th and February 8th, 1947, when 10 days of blowing snow buried towns and trains from Calgary to Winnipeg. Some Saskatchewan roads and rail lines remained impassable until spring. To add insult to injury, on February 3rd, Regina set a North American record with a temperature of -60 Celsius. When the storm ended, railway lines across the prairie provinces had to close operations for weeks. Most of the train tracks over the flat prairies were entombed under 20-foot snowdrifts. One train was buried in a snowdrift 1 kilometer long and 8 meters, 26 feet deep. This, of course, caused supply issues. Between the snow and the cold, it was almost impossible to get the deliveries or to go out for home essentials like food and coal. Farmers had to chop holes in the barn roofs to be able to get to their livestock or dig tunnels to their barns. Talk about getting snowed under. Today, snow clearing is still an important part of running railways in Canada every winter. Every storm sees plows clearing the tracks, but there are still occasions when the tracks get snowed under despite the plow's best efforts. And she includes a couple of recipes, her cheater baked beans, easy home baked beans, and pork chili. They're both available in the paper. And RCMP released video stills in recent business break-and-enters, submitted by the Manitoba RCMP. RCMP have released stills from video footage of a break-and-enter at the arm of North Cyprus Langford. Police are asking for assistance in tracking the individual responsible. Blue Hills RCMP are asking for assistance in identifying a person and vehicles of interest involved in 2 break-and-enter and theft over 5,000 incidents. On January 8th and January 29th, Blue Hills RCMP were called to a business in the RM of North Cyprus Langford for the report of break-in that had occurred overnight. On both occasions, a male suspect broke into a sea-can container on the property and stole plumbing and refrigeration copper wire. The value of stolen goods is estimated at over $40,000. If anyone has any information, they are asked to call the Carberry Area RCMP at 204-834-2905 or call Crime Stoppers Anonymous at 1-800-222-8477 or secure tip online at www.manitobacrimestoppers.com. And another submitted from the RCMP, one suspect arrested in connection to vehicle theft in Austin. On Thursday, February 13th at approximately 11:15 a.m., St. Rose de Lac RCMP received a report of possible impaired driver in Ebb and Flow First Nation. Officers immediately began patrols for the suspect vehicle, described as a pickup truck, and located it near the arena in the community, being driven by a lone male. RCMP followed the vehicle to attempt a traffic stop, but the driver abandoned the vehicle at a residence on Lake Road Northeast and fled on foot, headed into the bush. While running away from officers, the suspect removed some of his clothing and left it behind. Officers discovered the vehicle had been reported stolen from the community of Austin, and upon its search, officers located and seized a sawed-off shotgun. RCM Police Dog Services, Manitoba First Nation safety officers from Ebb and Flow First Nation, and the local fire department all arrived on scene to assist in the search, some on snowmobiles. A drone was also deployed by one of the safety officers. The suspect was located in the bush in very deep snow by officers on a snowmobile. While trying to apprehend him on foot, the suspect managed to escape and fled the scene on their snowmobile. An RCMP drone was deployed, which led to the discovery of the suspect still on snowmobile a short distance away. When the suspect became stuck, he began walking towards the road. Officers were finally able to apprehend the suspect, who by this time was not wearing shoes and suffering from extreme frostbite. He was transported to hospital by EMS in serious condition. Blake Below, 33, of Sandy Bay First Nation, has been charged with numerous offenses, including theft of a motor vehicle, flight from peace officer, and possession of firearm. On February 14th at approximately 8 a.m., officers were advised that the suspect had left the hospital with the assistance of an unknown person. It is believed he fled early in the morning. Thanks to tips from the police, Blake Below was located in Sandy Bay First Nation and returned to the hospital due to his serious injuries. Your Listening Ear by Delcy Martin. Parenting as a Team. The parenting alliance is the component of the marriage that involves parenting together. It is how spouses provide support and respect for one another in their parenting journey. A satisfying, intimate relationship is the foundation for a strong parenting alliance. Parenting in and of itself can challenge an individual's self-esteem and ability to regulate. Having a strong parenting alliance with your partner can help you feel more secure in your personal role as a parent. It helps you both to respond to your children warmly and empathetically because you feel confident in your role as a parent due to the support from your partner. Good listening skills are your number one tool to survive this period. When your partner needs to talk, stop everything and attune yourself to them. Physically turn your body toward them, maintain eye contact, and give minimal encourages like head nods. Even if there are little ones creating chaos around you, these small things in the moment can show that your partner's needs are important. Do ask open-ended questions to encourage your partner to share more and try to avoid planning what to say next to your partner. Listen to understand, not to respond. Do talk about your hopes, fears, and frustrations with your partner. It can be helpful to begin your sharing by saying what you need from them. As an example, I'm feeling really frustrated right now and I just need to vent for you to listen to me. Sometimes it's hard as receiving partner to know what you need from them, and many turn to providing solutions when this isn't what you actually need. Your partner may share these hopes, fears, and frustrations, but be too scared to vocalize them with you. When you and your partner connect at the end of your days, ask, what was good about your day? And what was challenging? When your partner talks about their good, react enthusiastically and show interest. When they talk about what isn't so good, validate their emotions, normalize the difficulty, and provide them a compliment or affirmation about why they are an amazing human. These things help to build emotional connection and friendship, which will keep you going during periods of time where connecting emotionally is especially hard. Disagreements in parenting will come up. That's inevitable. Talking about each other's perspective can really help this process. Don't enter a disagreement with the goal of being correct. Rather, enter with a mind of curiosity to try and understand your partner's perspective. We also ask yourself, is this disagreement worth pursuing? If this isn't a serious life or death parenting disagreement, can you find any points of commonality? Can you compromise? Can you agree to disagree? Effective co-parenting is key in maintaining the health and well-being of your entire household. Effective co-parenting can have better outcomes for behavioral regulation in your kids because you're able to maintain consistent boundaries. Difficult moments are temporary and will pass, and I know that you can get through this. And Neepawa artist captures the joy of living. Works of Shannon Desjardins featured at ArtsForward by Casper Warehan. And pictured left, Shannon Desjardins of Neepawa. Her artistic works are currently on display in the local gallery, ArtsForward. Pictured right, Park Passage by Shannon Desjardins, painted with oils on canvas. This is one of the many pieces in the exhibit. Paintings hold the potential to evoke memories known only to their beholder. Perhaps that is what visitors will find while taking in ArtsForward's latest exhibit, Joie de Vivre, Joy of Living, by Neepawa artist Shannon Desjardins. Artist meet and greet sessions were held throughout the day on February 13th for students and the general public, giving people the opportunity to not only view the exhibit, but meet the artist behind it. Desjardins' current passion is painting from life, often taking the plein air approach. She masterfully captures those living scenes in oil paints, her primary medium. I did a challenge in September, the Strata Easel Challenge, and many of the paintings in the exhibit come from that. However, I was interested in unplain air, painting a little before that, Desjardins shared. I had gone on a vacation and done a little sketch. I found the sketch again later, and I was amazed at how the memory of that moment was locked in. Desjardins added, there is joy in living life, and there is joy from painting from life. It's exciting to paint something with that limited time. And if I can tell these moments, a piece of art can trigger beautiful memories and help people connect with those memories. Desjardins particularly enjoys painting farmland and prairie scenes, with many being done in Neepawa and the surrounding area, such as Amaranth. However, there is something that trumps the place and the subject matter for Desjardins: light. That's what we painted notes things, but the effect of light, said Desjardins. Take a doorknob, for example. With the right lighting, even something as simple as that can become interesting. The light in a scene changes the subject's character. She also noted that she takes a unique approach to light in her paintings. Rather than using warm tones for lighter areas and cool tones for shadows, Desjardins reverses them. This technique is one she has adopted from her mentor. I owe a lot to my mentor, Desjardins enthused. I think it's very important that, no matter what we are doing, that we have mentors. In the future, Desjardins looks forward to experimenting with pastels, abstract art, and becoming a mentor herself. Those who have not yet taken in this exhibit may still do so, as it remains on display at Neepawa's ArtsForward until the end of February. And a little bit of archive history. Steve Patrick. Steve Patrick, pictured here from Glenella, was announced in July of 1980 to have been selected as one of the top defensive players of the half-century for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. He was a member of the squad for 13 years at that point and played in 6 Grey Cup games on 4 championship teams. He was also team captain for 4 years. He was also a familiar face in Neepawa as he participated in baseball tournaments here. And the Johnny Cash experience comes to Neepawa. the Johnny Cash tribute band, Cold Hard Cash, submitted by Kaleidoscope Concerts. Cold Hard Cash takes to the Kaleidoscope concert stage at ArtsForward on Friday, February 28th at 7:30 p.m., and advance tickets are selling fast. Since 2011, Cold Hard Cash has been entertaining audiences with their energetic and soul-capturing tribute to Johnny Cash. Described as the most sought-after Johnny Cash tribute band in the country, you won't want to miss this concert. Different eras are brought to life with the band's authentic vintage instruments and sharp formal dress changing alongside the distinct styles of Cash's music. Cold Hard Cash draws the audience in with humor, unique history, and dynamic stage presence. Cold Hard Cash is currently filling theaters, playing large music festivals, and performing across Canada alongside acts such as the Statler Brothers, Loverboy, and Prism. Don't be disappointed. Get your tickets now and save money. This event is made possible by the generous sponsorship of the Stride Credit Union, as well as a grant from the Manitoba Arts Council. And we have an editorial. Strength matters. I love walking into a gym or seeing people out on the trails, sidewalks in the winter, staying active. Activity is a huge part of improved mental health. I want to talk about an aspect of our fitness that most people don't consider. Walk down an icy street, this time of year, and they are norm, not the exception. In a moment, your foot slips, and for some, this can be a life and death moment. In seniors, a fall that breaks a hip as many as 25% can lead to fatality within 12 months. In 50% of cases, it can lead to total independence. Fortunately for women, they are the most at risk because of osteoporosis and muscle loss. This is scary stuff, and unfortunately, we all know someone that this has happened to. Develop muscle that protects the skeletal system. One of the things that we train during a normal Grit Force fitness class is explosive movement. I know this is not something we want to consider doing. Learning to move explosively is counterintuitive to our thought process. Explosive movement forces us to get out of our comfort zone and often feels awkward or reckless. Why would anyone want to feel this way? When we think strength training, we think of moving a weight a distance, whether it be weights or body weight, and doing this repeatedly will improve strength. Strength training done consistently and properly leads to improved strength, but are we training all our muscle systems this way? Let's introduce the idea of dynamic lifting like power clean, snatches, thrusts, and other explosive lifts. Why would anybody, especially someone older, benefit from something like this? This seems like an activity for the young. Dynamic lifting, sure, it looks cool or scary, but at its core, what we are doing. Yes, a dynamic lift moves a weight a distance like strength training, but there is a big difference. A dynamic lift is about generating power very quickly and landing balanced. This skill developed in a gym setting is the same skill that can protect or reduce the risk of a fall. With strength training, we also develop muscles that protects our skeletal system. If you have questions, reach out to Grit Force Fitness about joining us and learning these valuable life skills. We have functional training classes 6 days a week, and there's time and option right for you. And that was submitted by Daryl Gerard, functional training coach at Grit Force Fitness. And we're into sports. Neepawa and Minnedosa go to overtime in Tigers Fight Cancer Game by Owen Devereaux. And pictured, Cohen Kalbaki scored the first goal of the night for Neepawa in their game versus Minnedosa Erickson on a breakaway chance. This was his 45th goal of the WHSHL season. He would add one more, while Kane Lapointe and Kellen Hawken also scored for the Tigers in a 5-4 overtime loss. 3 games in 5 nights just wasn't enough for the Neepawa Tigers hockey team last week, as 2 of their 3 games ended up going into overtime. Unfortunately for Neepawa, the results in extra time were disappointing both times, as they lost 2 straight. After defeating the GCB Wildcats on Wednesday, Feb 12th, by a 6-3 margin, the Tigers returned to action on Friday versus the Minnedosa Erickson Chancellors. This game was also the annual Tigers Fight Cancer Game, which sees NACI wear its special pink, the rink sweaters. This game is the club's annual effort to raise support for a variety of local cancer programs. As for the actual game portion of the festivities, Neepawa jumped out to an early 3-0 lead. Cohen Kalbaki scored twice, while Kane Lapointe added the other. In the second, however, Minnedosa climbed back into it with a pair of short-handed goals by Aidan McGorman. William Melvin then tied things up at 3-3 just before the second intermission. Matthew Taves scored later in the game, giving the Chancellors their first lead of the game. Neepawa replied back, though, with Kellen Hawkins scoring with only 3:38 left in regulation. In overtime, it was Zachary Lamb who secured the win for Minnedosa Eriksson as he scored his 30th goal of the year. Neepawa was back at it on February 16th, playing Swan Valley. This game also went into overtime and would see Swan Valley collect the 7-6 win. Zach Platt went off for Neepawa in the third period, scoring 3 times, including the tying goal with only 19 seconds left in regulation. Swan Valley, however, would win in overtime. These results dropped Neepawa's record in the Westman High School Hockey League to 19-7-3. The Tigers remain in 5th place in the standings with 41 points. And also from Owen Devereux, Titans hosting Hockey Fights Cancer Night. The Neepawa Titans are hoping their fans are in a generous mood this weekend as the MJHL club is hosting its inaugural Hockey Fights Cancer Night. Board member Jamie Dembo said this is a brand new endeavor for the organization. This is a new initiative. We got thinking about things that impact so many people within the community that the Titans serve, and cancer care came up first on the list. This is year 1 of a major multi-year initiative, stated Denbo. As a part of their ongoing showdown with the Wew'suwet'en Wolverines on Saturday, February 22nd, the Titans will be wearing specialty jerseys designed to spotlight the need for research and support in the battle against cancer. Those jerseys are up currently for auction, with all profits being donated to Neepawa Cancer Care. Bids on the Hockey Fights Cancer jerseys can take place right through to 9 p.m. on February 22nd, right until the end of the second period. The link to the jersey auction can be located on the team's Instagram account and at https://www.32auctions.com/Titans Cancer Care 2025. If a winning bidder is in attendance, the player can sign the jersey right off their back. To go along with the jersey auction, the Titans are also raising money from the 50-50 and a homemade pierogi supper. The supper will start at 6 p.m. and continue throughout the game. There will be a special edition of Chuck-a-Puck with all the proceeds going to Neepawa Cancer Care. And Titans win at home over Oil Caps by Owen Devereux. Neepawa's Jackson Kohut, number 10, keeps an eye on the puck while covering Verdun forward Marshall Light in the picture above. The Neepawa Titans are inching closer and closer to securing a place in the MJHL postseason. The team helped their cause in a big way on Saturday, February 15th, by defeating the Verdun Oil Capitals 4-2. While the Oil Caps trail Neepawa on the MJHL standings, they have been on a bit of a run as of late. Since returning from the Christmas break, Verdun has gone 8-3-2 and has started to gain a bit of ground on the Titans in the West Division. If Neepawa were to lose this game, it would make the final 10 games of the regular season a bit more dramatic. Fortunately for the Titans, they were able to match Verdun's intensity throughout the game and even kick it up a notch in the third to secure the win. Cooper Kasprick scored the go-ahead goal in the third period, while Tim Jakonik secured the victory with an empty netter. Tykonik has also scored in the first, as did Talon Wallace. Next for Neepawa will be a game in Verdun on Thursday, February 20th. They will follow that up with a home game versus Wew'suwet'en on Saturday, February 22nd. Start time at the Yellowhead Center will be 7:30 p.m. And the Farmers advance in Tiger Hill's playoffs. And pictured, the Farmers celebrate a goal during their 3-0 win over McGregor on Saturday, February 15th. The Neepawa Farmers have reason to celebrate this week after defeating the McGregor Wild 2-1 in their first round playoff series. After losing Game 1, 4-3 in overtime, Neepawa faced elimination in the second game on Saturday, February 15th. The Farmers would bring their best effort in this one, claiming a 3-0 victory. Zach Hicks, Callan Denbo, and Brad Marshall all scored for Neepawa, while Nate Braun stopped 46 shots and earned himself the shutout. The third and deciding game was played on Gregor on Monday, February 17th. For this one, Neepawa jumped out to an early lead as Shane Byram, Garrett Rempel, and Brad Marshall all scored goals within the first 5 minutes and 12 seconds of action. Byram added one more in the second, while Kyle McDonald also chipped in late in the third, giving Neepawa a 5-0 lead. McGregor scored one late in the game, ruining Nate Braun's chances of a second straight shutout, though he instead stopped 45 of the 46 shots he faced. The Neepawa Farmers will face the Killarney Shamrocks next. Due to scheduling conflicts at the local arenas, Game 3 will be played in Cartwright, and Game 4, if needed, is being planned for Gladstone. Elsewhere around the Tiger Hills Hockey League, the Minnesota Bombers defeated the Carby Plainsmen 2-0, while Melita and Hartney advanced in the West Division. And Dan Mazur, Member of Parliament. Post office attacks highlight need to get tough on crime. Over the past few months, rural post offices across our communities have been under attack. I am aware of at least 250 mailboxes that have been broken into in various communities throughout our region. Criminals have targeted post offices with break-ins, theft, and vandalism in the communities of Neepawa, Minnedosa, Rivers, Kelwood, Arden, Austin, McGregor, Carberry, Rapid City, Erickson, Onondaga, and Sandy Lake, with more stories emerging every week. This is not a coincidence. This is the work of repeat offenders who have no fear of consequences. I have been meeting with law enforcement, post office representatives, and my colleagues in Ottawa to address this issue. And while I find it troubling, most post offices do not even have security cameras, seeing there is a clear pattern of behavior from these crimes, I'm confident the series of attacks on our post offices are by the same individuals who would not be deterred by a camera. This wave of crime has forced some post offices to lock their doors at night, denying rural Canadians access to their own mail. This is unacceptable. Unlike in urban centers, rural residents do not have home delivery. When these criminals strike, they are not just stealing mail, they are robbing families, seniors, and businesses of their essential services. Section 356(1) of the Criminal Code of Canada makes mail theft a serious offense. In fact, this offense is punishable by up to 10 years in prison. Yet time and time again, these criminals walk free. This pattern of repeat offenders is not limited to our post offices, though. As I meet with countless victims of crime in my role as your Member of Parliament, it has become very clear that too many offenders are out on bail, enabled by laws like Bill C-75, which allow criminals to be in jail one day and out on bail the next. We need real consequences for repeat offenders who prey on our communities, not a revolving door that lets them walk free to strike again. Meanwhile, violent crime is up 50% in Canada, and instead of strengthening our justice system, the Liberal NDP coalition in Ottawa is putting criminals first and communities second. This must stop. We need stronger enforcement, tougher penalties, and the necessary resources for law enforcement. There is also a growing number of rural Canadians who are being targeted by criminals simply because of where they live. Criminals deliberately prey on rural Canadians, knowing the response time from law enforcement is delayed. That is why I worked with my Conservative colleagues to introduce Bill C-364, which would have amended the criminal code by adding an aggravating factor for the purposefully targeting an individual in a rural area who is far from emergency services. Bill C-364 would have also changed the criminal code's legal definition of dwelling house to place because many break-ins happen to barns and sheds. It is no secret that valuables are kept in storage in rural areas. Unfortunately, when Justin Trudeau shut down Parliament through the prorogation, he prevented all legislation from moving forward. The safety of our communities must be protected. The catch and release, soft on crime policies must be repealed before more harm is inflicted on our communities. Rural Canadians deserve better. And the market report by Tyler Sawinski from Gladstone Auction. As uncertainty may still be looming as politics threaten tariffs over the Canadian cattlemen, it wasn't all doom and gloom in February 18th market. The market, for the most part, was steady and stronger in spots, to lower in a few others. The futures were lower to start the day on fat cattle and stronger on the feeder cattle, but as the day went on, they were both showing signs of increases. We saw a very impressive set of cattle and a very good quality. First cut cattle are selling strong. Most of the feeder cattle sold well, and much similar to trade from 3 to 4 weeks ago. Second and third cut cattle are definitely seeing discounts. If they don't fit the orders, they are soon sorted from the packages. The cattle are still in strong demand, and I expect to see strong prices until the next political debate. We sold 1,516 head of cattle through the ring in Gladstone. Cows and bulls are trending with higher averages. Feeding type cows and heiferettes are still selling stronger than yielding cows. Yielding cows still traded quite reasonably from $170 to $195, with sales to $204, looking like strong demands. Feeding type cows are ranging between $190 to $215. Bulls traded stronger, ranging from $210 to $236.25. Varsity Tigers host boys basketball tournament. And pictured here, NACI Tigers varsity boys basketball team hosted a tournament in Neepawa on February 14th and 15th. Their first game was scheduled against Ebb and Flow. Ebb and Flow was unable to attend, however, so Neepawa received a bye into the semifinal to face Verdon Golden Bears. For this game, Neepawa was able to win 103 to 61. Next would be the final game against the Souris Sabres. In this game, both teams exchanged the lead on multiple occasions and ultimately had to go into overtime. Souris would eventually earn the tournament win with a 94-88 victory. Congrats to Souris on the win and to Neepawa on putting together an exceptional weekend of basketball. And PC Leadership Hopefuls Visit the Region by Ken Waddell, and pictured Obi Khan left and Wally Doddridge right, candidates in the leadership election for the Progressive Conservative Party of Manitoba. The Progressive Conservative Party of Manitoba is in the midst of a leadership election. Both candidates, Obi Khan of Winnipeg and Wally Doddridge of Churchill, have made visits to the Neepawa Banner and Press coverage region. Khan had a coffee party at Minnedosa 50-plus Center on Feb 7th, and Doddridge had a meet and greet at Chicken Chef in Neepawa on Feb 18th. Both candidates' opening statements in their pamphlet read alike. Khan says, Obi will rebuild the PC party and outlines several points of concern about how the party has been operating. Doddridge says he wants to put the party's house in order and promises to return to running the party to the grassroots. The similarity of the candidates' statements may well be based on the public's perception of the previous leadership race where Heather Stephenson won the position put amidst controversy about the leadership race being rushed. Also, the Stephenson-led campaign was not received well by the party members or voters as the PCs went down to defeat. Khan is a sitting MLA and Doddridge is a tourism operator from Churchill, but when not in Churchill, they live in Morden, Manitoba. And we'll move on to Looking Back by Casper Wareham. 125 years ago, February 21st, 1900. And again, these records are from the Neepawa Register for 1900. Bridge Creek. We are pleased to see Miss Miguel at her post at the Iroquois School again. Bridge Creek. Harness making has been done cheap around here lately, no house rent having to be paid. Bridge Creek. I see by the Neepawa Press that the editor boasts about the news that his paper contains, but all the news I could find in a friend's copy of it was that the price was to be advanced from $1 to $1.50. I could find no news of the war, nor of the final in the interprovincial hockey match at Montreal. 100 years ago, Feb 17th, 1925. McCreary. The Old Settlers Cup arrived on Friday of last week and is on exhibit at Ranke's store. It certainly is a beauty and something that the old-timers may be proud of in the future. It is the intention of the Old Settlers Union annually to hold an old-time picnic and keep fresh the memories of the olden days, when the country was new and when the sports were real sports and all local. Those were the happy days, even if we had to bog through water and mud and fight the mosquitoes by the myriads and you did not have an automobile to go to the picnics with, wagons or horseback being the means of transportation. The above cup is competed for by the curlers in the Bonspiel and is open to all comers. Brooker's confectionery store has undergone complete renovations and some alterations. The lunchroom and ice cream parlor has seating capacity for 50 people and is well lighted and tastefully furnished. Townspeople are reminded that they cannot legally purchase groceries in any of the fruit and confectionery stores after 7 p.m. It is not fair to the general merchants who close at 6 that competitors should be business at all hours. Hence, the bylaw passed at last meeting of the Town Council. 75 years ago, February 23, 1950. An audience which filled the Roxy Theatre to capacity attended the John Deere Day show here Thursday afternoon. A former resident of Neepawa is a member of the small band of young airmen, adventurers who are smashing down the barrier of Newfoundland's ancient loneliness. He is Jack Barton, who until recently was instructor for the Neepawa Flying Club. Barton, who has logged 6,000 air hours, is the most experienced pilot with a now Mercy Mail charter service that provides consistent transport among the villages of insular Newfoundland and Labrador for the first time in history. Barton is an Indian-born Englishman who has flown with TCA and Royal Dutch Airlines. Arden, a successful Valentine and Pie social, was held in Winchester School on February 14th. Contests, 20 questions, and stunts were enjoyed. The pie-eating contest was won by John Snellgrove. 50 years ago, Thursday, February 20th, 1975. And pictured is a coconut that went on a journey through the postal services from Hawaii to McCreary in 1975. Jack and Irene Little received the coconut in late February. It was sent by Irene's brother-in-law and sister. The local fire brigade was called into action Wednesday morning when the fire of unknown origin completely gutted the interior of the home of Tony Halabiski. As a businessman who operates in a small community will attest, the support of the residents of that community is essential to his survival, particularly to a highly competitive business. In Neepawa, one business is not getting that support and is facing serious doubts about its future. Hare's Cartage is operating in what happens to be the most competitive industry in the Westman region, and the overall condition of the trucking industry is not healthy. The grand opening of the new 1&W laundromat in McCreary was held Saturday, February 15th. Approximately 200 people visited the premises during the day. And as I mentioned in the picture, a coconut was received by mail recently by Jack and Irene Little of McCreary from Mrs. Little's brother-in-law and sister, Dick and Gladys Halliburton of Delta, BC, who were holidaying in Hawaii. The coconut is still in its husk. And 20 years ago, 2005, Brookdale. Les and Margaret Ann Harburn enjoyed a 10-day holiday in Costa Rica and attended the wedding of Clyde and Julie McCallum of Carberry. Several vehicles were egged and a parked car was smeared with mustard in the latest round of vandalism to hit Neepawa. And finally, the kids' scoop is here in the world-famous Jane Goodall. This one is all on gorillas and Africa and naming animals and discoveries, and it's got a word search. So be sure and let the kids see it and take part. And that's the end of the Neepawa Banner and Press for today. I hope you enjoyed.